Beth March, the third of the four March sisters in Louisa May Alcott's Little Women, is perhaps the most enigmatic and quietly powerful character in the novel. While her sisters chase dreams, struggle with ambition, and fall in love, Beth remains firmly rooted in the domestic world, devoted to her family, and guided by a quiet, unwavering moral compass. Often viewed as the angel of the novel, Beth's role transcends her limited narrative action. She serves as the emotional heart of the story, a symbol of moral perfection, and a reflection of deeper philosophical and spiritual themes. Through Beth, Alcott explores ideas of mortality, self-sacrifice, and the sacredness of everyday life. Role in the narrative. Beth's narrative role in Little Women is not about external drama or transformation, but rather about constancy and quiet influence. She is the stabilizing force within the March household, gentle, shy, and extraordinarily kind. Unlike her sisters who struggle with faults, Jo's temper, Meg's vanity, Amy's pride, Beth seems almost entirely untainted by selfishness or ambition. Her life centers around acts of care, playing the piano for her family, helping the poor Hummel family, and supporting her sisters through their emotional journeys. Although Beth does not have an arc in the traditional sense, she does not experience significant change or conflict. Her presence and eventual death are turning points for the entire family. Her illness, first contracted from selflessly caring for a sick child, and her slow decline and death in the second half of the novel serve as moments of profound emotional reckoning. Each sister is forced to confront their values, their priorities, and the fragility of life. Jo, in particular, is transformed by Beth's death, which deepens her emotional maturity and reshapes her understanding of purpose and loss. Beth may be quiet, but she acts as a mirror, reflecting the best in those around her. Her role is not loud or central in the conventional narrative sense, but she is the emotional and moral anchor of the family, the silent standard by which others measure their goodness. Symbolic significance. Beth is often interpreted as the Christ-like figure of the novel, a symbol of selfless love, purity, and sacrifice. She expects nothing, demands nothing, and quietly bears the burdens of others. Her deep empathy and humility place her in sharp contrast with a world that often rewards ambition and self-assertion. In a narrative filled with striving, Jo's career, Amy's refinement, Meg's domestic dreams, Beth represents stillness, acceptance, and the beauty of the present moment. Her characterization aligns with the 19th century ideal of the angel in the house, the virtuous, self-sacrificing woman, whose goodness is found in domestic devotion. Yet, Alcott elevates Beth beyond mere archetype. Through Beth's music, her tender relationships, and her philosophical acceptance of mortality, she becomes a spiritual figure, embodying the transcendentalist belief in the soul's connection to something eternal and divine. Beth's death is not just tragic, it is holy. Her slow, peaceful decline is treated almost like a saint's passage into eternity. The language used in these scenes, filled with imagery of light, heaven, and peace, heightens her symbolic role as a spiritual guide. Her death does not destroy the family, rather, it sanctifies them. Each sister emerges changed, and the reader is left with the sense that Beth's short life had deep, lasting meaning. Beth also represents the hidden value of the domestic sphere. In a society that often overlooks the labor of women in the home, Beth's life insists on the sacredness of everyday kindness. Her work, caring for dolls, sewing, visiting the sick, tending to her piano, is never grand but always good. In this way, Beth symbolizes the quiet power of the ordinary, the moral weight of unseen labor, and the profound impact of a loving presence. Broader implications. Beth's character raises complex questions about the value of life, especially one that appears passive by societal standards. In a world that often prioritizes achievement and visibility, Beth challenges us to consider the importance of gentleness, humility, and spiritual richness. Her story suggests that worth is not measured by public success or longevity, but by the depth of one's love and the integrity of one's soul. However, Beth's portrayal is not without controversy, especially when viewed through a modern lens. Critics have debated whether she is too idealized, even unrealistically perfect, and whether her death is used to enforce a lesson about feminine submission and domestic virtue. Yet, Beth also has a radical quietness. In a novel that offers multiple models of womanhood, Jo the rebel, Meg the homemaker, Amy the social climber, Beth provides an alternative that is not lesser, just different. Her life affirms the dignity of those who live without fanfare, who seek not to conquer the world, but to care for it. Alcott gives value to a kind of feminine strength that is often invisible: emotional labor, moral presence, and gentle endurance. Beth's role also reflects Alcott's own spiritual and philosophical leanings, influenced by transcendentalism and Unitarianism. Through Beth, Alcott explores ideas of death not as a defeat, but as a transition. Beth's acceptance of her mortality, her lack of fear, and her deep inner peace suggest a belief in the soul's continuity and the eternal value of love and goodness. Conclusion. Beth March may not command attention with bold declarations or grand gestures, but her presence in Little Women is undeniably powerful. She is the novel's still point, the soul of the March family, and the moral light by which the other characters find their way. Through her role in the narrative, Louisa May Alcott elevates the values of humility, care, and inner grace, offering readers a profoundly moving portrayal of a life lived in quiet service to others. Beth becomes a figure of divine love, feminine virtue, and spiritual strength. Her story compels us to consider the sanctity of simple acts, the weight of invisible labor, and the eternal impact of a life guided by compassion.